Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Mark's Action Figures. This week, Yo Joe! Today, we are diving back into the Classified series, and this is a seriously cool lineup. Numbers 176 through 179. We've got Grim Reaper, Sci-Fi, Mainframe, and Wetsuit. Now, three of these characters trace back to the absolute powerhouse year of 1986 in G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, which, let's be honest, was one of the most stacked years of the entire vintage run. We're going to look at original figures, talk original release history, and of course, break down all the accessories and sculpt detail. So, let's jump in. At number 176, Grim Reaper. Now, this is not a vintage 1982-1994 A Real American Hero release. Grim Reaper is more of a later era edition of the G.I. Joe mythos, not part of the original 80s carded lineup. So, right away, this figure feels like Classified is expanding the universe, not just rehashing the greatest hits. Looking at the hardback art, you can see they're leaning into that darker, almost psychological warfare aesthetic. He feels like a Cobra operative designed to intimidate. Less neon battlefield, more modern tactical menace. What I like here is that Classified is blending realism with that over-the-top Cobra flair. The sculpt has a strong presence, very clean lines, and sharp detailing. Let's talk accessories. A huge minigun. Great sculpt detail. You can actually see his tally of kills, 18. Now that 18 kills, is it for 18 kills in total? Or is it 18 kills today? Or in the last hour? Looking at this guy, I think it's in the last hour. He's got really nice paint apps. The head sculpt is just excellent texture work. This feels like a character 8-year-old me would have invented in the backyard, a super elite Cobra assassin energy. He may not be vintage, a real American hero, but he absolutely fits into the modern Classified shelf presence. Next up, well, we're going to talk about Sci-Fi. So Seymour, Sci-Fi Fine, number 177. Now we're getting into the peak of 1986. Sci-Fi originally released with the G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, back in 86, and this was when G.I. Joe went full future war mode. Bright green suit, massive laser rifle. This was Cold War Sci-Fi turned up to 11. He appeared in the Sunbow cartoon, G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, and in the Marvel comic run, G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, usually battling bats and Cobra tech. On the vintage card back, his file card emphasized intelligence and technical attitude or aptitude. He was more than just a laser trooper. He was a brainy laser trooper. Now, looking at the Classified version, the sculpt is fantastic. The armor plating feels more tactical and less toy-like, but they kept the spirit of that original design. In terms of accessories, the laser rifle is still iconic. The backpack unit is updated with detailing. I mean, you're going to need a good battery pack to power that laser rifle, like seriously. The paint apps, much more realistic tones compared to the neon 1986 original. 1986 was loaded, and Sci-Fi was front and center of that tech forward push. Next up is Mainframe, or Blaine Mainframe Parker. Also 1986, and also a major player in expanding what G.I. Joe could be. Mainframe originally hit shelves in 1986 as a team's computer specialist. Think about that. Mid 80s, pre internet, and kids are playing with a cyber warfare specialist. That's ahead of its time. He appeared in both the Sunbow cartoon and the Marvel comic series, often portrayed as calm, analytical, the guy behind the screens keeping Cobra from launching something catastrophic. On the vintage card back, he had that silver helmet and portable computer pack, which at the time looked like absolute cutting edge military tech. Now in classified form, this is a glow up. His accessories, he's got his updated tech backpack, weapon sculpt is cleaner and more tactical, and helmet detail is sharper, less bulky. Mainframe was hacking Cobra before most of us even knew what hacking was. And again, 1986 just keeps delivering. Now we finish with the 1986 trifecta with number 179, Wetsuit. Originally released in 1986 in G.I. Joe Real American Hero, Wetsuit was a Navy SEAL combat diver of the team. Vintage Wetsuit, bright yellow wetsuit, because apparently covert underwater ops in the 80s required maximum visibility. He showed up in both the cartoon and Marvel comics, typically in stealth assault or underwater missions. The original accessories were fantastic. He had a harpoon gun, fins, air tank. Now in classified form, they've modernized the look. The color palette feels more tactical, less neon, more realistic. Special operations diver. Let's look at the accessories. He's got a harpoon gun, fantastic sculpt, tanks, great texture work, and fins, functional and detailed. This one balances nostalgia with modern realism really well. Now, which one is my favorite figure in this particular lineup? Out of these four figures, hands down, Grim Reaper. There's just something about this figure that really stands out. The sculpt, the darker aesthetic, the way the gear is layered, he just looks way more menacing than most figures on the line. When you put him on the shelf, he doesn't just blend in with the rest of the Cobra troops. He looks like the guy you send in when things are about to get serious. The face sculpt and overall design give him the really ominous presence, almost like a silent enforcer. He's got that don't mess with this guy vibe that makes him feel like a true elite operative in the Cobra ranks. For me, this one is one of the figures, the classified line, where the classified line really shines. It's a huge glow up in terms of detail and intimidation factor. And honestly, out of the four figures I'm reviewing today, Grim Reaper is the one that immediately grabs my attention every time I look at the shelf. I imagine this character never speaking coherent sentences or words, but instead making very low bass growls that freeze your blood instantly as his ominous presence looms over the horizon. Now I know, some of the people might say that looking at this design, that exposed brain area looks like it would be a huge liability in an actual combat situation. I mean, realistically, having your brain sitting right out there would make you extremely vulnerable to bullets and shrapnel. But in my 8-year-old mind, back in the day, that was never a problem. You see, in my imagination, That brain was covered in some kind of impenetrable armor, like a Kevlar type dome made of a mix of adamantium, vibranium, and titanium. Basically, something completely bulletproof and indestructible. So instead of looking like a weakness, it made the character even more intimidating to me. It makes him feel like he's unstoppable, almost science experiment gone wrong kind of soldier. And honestly, that's part of why this figure still stands out. So, looking at this wave, three heavy hitters from 1986 and one darker, modern era expansion character. If we're talking pure nostalgia, Sci-Fi and Wetsuit scream 1986. If we're talking biggest glow up, I'd say Mainframe. And if we're talking shelf presence, Grim Reaper brings that Cobra intimidation factor. 1986 and A Real American Hero wasn't just another year, it was a major expansion year. Specialists, tech, divers, laser troopers, that's when the brand really evolved beyond basic infantry. Let me know in the comments which one is your favorite from this lineup. And finally, I would like to make a shout out to my viewers that left comments in my last video, to Pierre from StoneX Customs. Thanks, brother, for your ongoing support. It is very much appreciated. And Scotty, I promise I will do a 1976 Mattel Pulsar review in the near future. And to prove that I am not just joking, this is a near mint 1976 Mattel Pulsar. I will make a full review, I promise. And as always, remember to like, subscribe, and comment and share. Until next time, this is Mark's Action Figures.